My name is Taylor Dudley, and I'm here today with Ruby, our program coordinator, as well as Tyrone and Audra, our co-directors of the UCLA Pritzker Center. And we also have several of our students joining, as well as our fellow Dr. Monique Corral. So really appreciate you all being here with us. And I'd also like to introduce Winnie Wexler, the Executive Director of the Anthony and Jeannie Pritzker Family Foundation. And we're also joined by our faculty leader, Todd Franke. So we have a lot of people with us today from the UCLA Pritzker Center, and really appreciate all of you being here. We are recording this session, and we would like to be able to post it on our website, but if you have a concern about that, feel free to let me know, and we will either edit out your portion or otherwise find a way to make it work. So just feel free to let us know if that concerns you. And then also, some of you have let me know in the chat that you'd like to share your screen, and that's great. I will definitely give you that ability when the time comes. So before we get to the project presentations, I'm going to turn it over to Tyrone and Audra for a few opening comments.
Hi, I'll start. Good afternoon. Thank you for sharing this time with us. We're really excited to hear what's going on. I, of course, want to just acknowledge what the last year has been like for all of you and all of us, and really importantly, for the children and families that we seek to serve. And so also commend you all for being so nimble and flexible in trying to, refusing to be paralyzed and trying to figure out how to still make these innovations work. So we look forward to hearing about where you are. We recognize some of the stumbling blocks and obstacles and also the ways that you've overcome them. And so know that this is sort of a midway point for us to check in, and we want to be supportive in getting you to the finish line when we meet 6 months from now. So welcome to everybody.
I want to reiterate what Audra, my partner in crime, just stated. First and foremost, thank you. We know these have been challenging times for all of us in a multitude of ways, and the fact that you all have still stayed the course and remain committed to this important work, we cannot say thank you enough. Our students, our children, our families, they need us now more than ever, given the depth and the breadth of the challenges that families are facing. So we are so excited for your participation, your engagement, your work, your brilliance around what you're doing around serving children and families. I'm also excited, we're also excited because, one of the things that Winnie Wexler talked to us about years ago was this idea of how UCLA needed to be a hub of bringing together experts and smart people from all across campus who are studying, thinking, doing research around issues tied to child welfare. And she oftentimes told us, she says, I know these folks, but you all don't know each other. And we see this as just a small microcosm of that kind of convening of bringing together folks from across our campus, really smart people doing really important work, and sharing us just a small glimpse into the work that you all are doing. So we're excited. We're looking forward to it. This gets us out of our silos. It helps us work collaboratively. It helps us work collectively. So we're just excited to learn about your work. So thank you. And looking forward to hearing and seeing more.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate that. So we're going to turn to the projects, and we will go in the order that I outlined in the agenda, and I'll also put that order by the PI in the chat, just in case anyone wants to be reminded. And again, that's the PI. If you're here representing the PI, just go for it when the time comes. We know that some folks were not able to be here with us today, and that's totally fine. And sorry, I'm toggling between so many screens. Thanks for your patience. So I'm going to start with Dr. Franke and his community partner, Lindsay Elliott from Happy Trails. And I'm going to share my screen so that you can work through your talk. And if you'd like me to advance at any point, just tell me and I will.
Great, thank you, Taylor. And just to confirm, I'm going to put a little timer here for myself for 5 minutes to stay on track. Before I get started, Todd, is there anything that you want to say before we kind of launch into the presentation?
Yeah, just for 30 seconds. I need you all to know that it was a pleasure working with Lindsay and Happy Trails and all of the staff. we'll be happy to answer questions toward the end. Things worked pretty well, and we built all of this around what they had been trying to accomplish up to the point that I came and became involved. I plan to continue to be involved and help them move forward because they're a fantastic organization and they deserve any support I can give them. Other than that, I will let Lindsay take it away, and I'm happy to answer questions about things that didn't go as well as we had hoped when this is all over.
Great, thank you. And Taylor, just for the presentation purpose, the beginning slides are just an overview of Happy Trails. So while I'm just talking, you can just scroll through. We're really kind of going to get started on slide 8 in terms of the content. But hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Elliott. I am the Executive Director of Happy Trails for Kids, and we are exclusively working with children impacted by the foster care system. We bring camping connections and confidence into their lives. You know, in the child welfare world, often extracurricular activities, play, normalcy, you know, it's sometimes overlooked inadvertently at times. And Happy Trails is really about focused on addressing the inequities of play in the lives of children in foster care. So we do that through our overnight summer camp program and our year-round programming. And so today we're really going to focus on summer camp. That's where we focused our data collection this first round. We again are continuing to work together and having a broader look. But for purposes of today, we're gonna look at our virtual camp that we hosted in June. And so we'll keep going 1 or 2 more slides. Like so many people, we transitioned to virtual programming in March, and here we are. With the launch of our virtual camp. So what does a virtual camp look like? For us, we, this very first camp, we've subsequently done other camps. We served just about 100 campers in a range of ages. And, you know, for a virtual camp, it was really like many of you in your programming initiatives. It was over Zoom. We had terrific guest facilitators, you know, some better than others. We learned a lot from that. We set supplemental activities through a Happy Camper kit and materials. And one piece that isn't in here, but was actually a big effort, is we addressed the technology gaps in devices. And so that was quite a bit to get everybody equipped to be able to meaningfully participate. From our data we collected prior to the start of camp and also the conclusion of camp. And right here's a photo of one of our campers. He's, you know, focused on an art project. He's got his Happy Trails shirt, which if you had seen him the next day would have been tie-dyed and in full camp mode. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide where we talk about what we looked at. So we were really interested in confidence. That's a big part of our at camp in person. And so what were we able to learn about that? And so we also looked at campers as first-time campers and also returning campers, because first-time campers have, you know, they have a baseline. They know what a Happy Trails summer camp experience looks like. And then we have our new campers. But regardless if you're new or a returning camper, 56% agreed that camp would provide opportunities to increase their confidence. Looking at my time, Taylor, I'm going to skip the next slide and then we'll come back to it if we have time. Go to the next slide, please. Great. So a big component of our program is many of our counselors, in fact, 70% have lived experience in foster care. That was the design of the program intentionally. And so we wanted to look at, you know, those connections. And this was pretty interesting. So if you had never been to camp, campers reported that only 35% thought that they would feel very connected to their camp counselor. Keeping in mind, this is a virtual setting. Post-camp, 60% responded that they were very connected. So that was a very powerful, that was useful for us to know that, you know, even in a virtual setting, those connections can be established. On the other hand, for our returning campers, 54 thought they would feel very connected, and this fell a little bit, just under 50%. You know, what the reasons are, I'm not sure, but I can't help but think there's sort of a reflection of they know what it feels like and what it doesn't feel like to be in person. So I know I am short on time. I'm going to quickly just cover a few small points. Taylor, the next slide, please. Again, to the point of, you know, does it make is there an impact knowing that the majority of our counselors have that lived experience in foster care? And from a caregiver perspective, you can see well over 70% strongly agreed or strongly agreed that their campers were more connected. And I think those connections are so powerful. And we want to look at those further as we continue to review our data. And then the last slide, I believe, Taylor, if I can squeeze that in, and just the overall impact, knowing the trying times and the challenges and sort of the loneliness that so many of our campers are experiencing and children in our community. And right here, you know, this shows us that this is making a difference and bringing happiness and shining a light in their lives. So this is the conclusion of our presentation. I'm sorry that I went over, everybody, but I really appreciate your time, and we're so excited to continue to learn about the impact of our program.
Thank you so much, Lindsay and Todd. Are there any questions from the group?
Taylor, could I ask Todd Todd, is there anything that I glaringly missed on our presentation that you should clarify or for the group?
No, other than the fact about how hard you and your staff worked to make sure that people actually filled out surveys before and after, and the herding of cats required to make sure that that happens. No, you should take credit for that. Everybody worked really hard to make this a success.
It was really so nice to work with you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. We're really excited about your work, particularly around the collection of evidence that extracurriculars and activities for children in foster care are important and go a long way toward all of the things that children should experience in their young lives. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're so happy to have had Happy Trails be a part of our group this year.
Thank you, Taylor. And I should have started with, I just want to thank I just want to thank everybody here for helping make this a reality. I should have started with that. So it's just a fantastic company to be in, and really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. We thank you tenfold. And Todd, tenfold. All right, let's go to Fana, Gamal, and Lorena. If Lorena, I don't think I see Lorena, so it looks like it's Fana.
Yes, sorry, Lorena is, I think, teaching during this time or has an otherwise engagement, but I don't have a timer, so if I go over, just, mute me or something like that. So I'm Fana Jamal. I'm a Binder Teaching Fellow at the UCLA School of Law, and I also direct the Community Lawyering and Education Clinic. And my partners at UCLA are Dr. Lorena Guillen, who is an assistant professor in the School of Education, and Maisie Chen, who is the executive director of a community-based organization called Cadre. And Cadre works to organize parents in the South Los Angeles area around issues of education, and more recently around issues of child welfare and narratives around parents. So our project actually started about a year ago in just a series of conversations between the three of us about the narratives about parents that were surfacing in our work. Before I came to UCLA, I was an education and juvenile justice attorney in the Bay Area. And of course, Lorena has extensive experience in the education system. And so we were just talking about sort of the way parents had been treated across the different institutions that we work with. And through those series of talks, one of the things that we realized was that there were a lot of commonalities in those narratives. I mean, in particular, in punishing narratives that sometimes serve to dehumanize parents. Cadre has been for 20 years working to organize parents in South Los Angeles, and has had a lot of success in passing not just policy, but also kind of strengthening and empowering parent groups to participate or sort of take control in the education system. And have been interested in looking more critically at the child welfare system and the way parents are treated there. So originally, before in the pre-pandemic world, we got together to design a convening that would bring parents who have experience with the child welfare system to basically surface new narratives around what is happening there, and how those narratives actually justify the removal of their children. But when that became not possible or not safe, we decided to shift gears. But I'm actually excited with the way that we have taken it. So now we are doing a multidisciplinary approach that incorporates the expertise that we all have. And so the first part of our project is a mapping project, and that will include getting data from the DCSF and school districts in Los Angeles County to map removal of children from by way of the school system into the child welfare system. So I run a clinic at the law school, and so we're filing a series of PRAs with DCSF over the course of the semester to get information about how many students are being removed from by way of the school system or reported on by way of the school system across Los Angeles County. And we anticipate that this data could be used for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons we're interested in collecting it is to start a conversation around more movement advocacy and more parent involvement and advocacy at the intersections of the education system and the child welfare system. So that's the first project. Then, because the data we get is just data, it's just numbers, people need ways to analyze it. We are working on a co-authored piece with members of Cadre, parent members of Cadre, as well as Lorena and Maisie and myself, about the narratives that are emerging from Cadre's parents about the child welfare system. So over the course of the last few months, Cadre has hosted these monthly healing circles, is what they call them. And they talk about, it's an open forum for parents with experience with the child welfare system to essentially talk about their experiences. And from there, we're going to incorporate some of the data that we get from those healing circles into a paper that will analyze the data that the law clinic is collecting over the course of this semester. We hope to turn this into an infographic that will be hopefully easy to use for people from across not only Los Angeles County, but California and nationally. And we think that because of the aims laid out earlier, the Pritzker Center's aims, we just feel like this is sort of a natural home for that kind of empirical information because of the strong ties that Pritzker Center has with the School of Education and now the School of Law. And then finally, we still hope to have a convening. Likely it will be virtual, but we're hoping that maybe there's a chance that there could be some sort of in-person component. And that will most likely happen in the fall of 2021. So yes, that's all. That's my entire presentation. But I also want to just say thank you. It has been a great opportunity to be able to work with Cadre and Lorena and the School of Education on this project. And it really wouldn't have come to fruition without the support of this grant and also the encouragement that we've gotten from the Pritzker Center faculty and staff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fauna. We really appreciate all of your efforts. It has been a pleasure working with you, and we're really excited about all of the opportunities with Cadre. We know they're such an important organization in South LA, and look forward to hearing more from them as time goes on. So thank you for engaging with them so we can know them better. Appreciate it. Any questions for Fauna?
I do have a question if I can here. Fauna, sounds amazing. So excited about that work. Question about, in thinking about participatory action research and how you might be thinking about involving those parents in the analysis of data, presentation of findings. Have you all thought about incorporating potentially those parents in some type of like participatory action research at all?
That's a really great question. And, so we sort of see this as as sort of dual track. So on one track, it will be the law clinic that's filing the PRAs and the data. And then the other track, it will be sort of the qualitative data that comes out of the healing circles. And I have to admit that that track is more Lorena's camp. A lot of this is also bridging kind of research methodologies, which has been really interesting for us as well. And I think that that could be a really important avenue for participatory research. I confess that I don't have a lot of background in that. That's not typically the type of research that is done in the law. But what is really nice about a partnership like this is that I'm able to learn more about those types of methods. You know, afterwards, it sounds like you have an interest in this, Monique. So perhaps you and Lorena and I can all connect about how to incorporate that.
Awesome. Yes, Fauna, my colleagues at the UCLA Pritzker Center have become well-versed in my own struggles with data and learning how all of that works. So I join you as a fellow lawyer in needing improvement in that area, but we get it from amazing experts here. So thank you so much. All right, well, thank you, Monique, for your question. Are there any other questions for Fauna? Super. All right, let's go to BGS with Jessica Rivera, and I think she has some colleagues joining her as well. So Jessica, feel free to introduce yourself and any colleagues that you have with you today.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be in community with you all. So I'm Jessica Rivera. I am the program manager for our Guardian Scholars at UCLA. And I'm also excited to share that now we have an initiative called Mckinney-Vento Initiative, and we're supporting students who have experienced homelessness, houselessness, either 2 years like in high school, K through 12, or 2 years within post-secondary. And so we're supporting students similar to our Guardian Scholars, our foster youth, ensuring that they have priority enrollment, priority housing, and other resources. So just wanted to put that plug in. I would like to introduce Raquel Wilson, who we are currently collaborating with. She is from Fostering Media Connection, and right now she's working with us to offer a creative space for our Guardian Scholars to be able to share their narratives, their experiences. So I'll let Raquel take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jessica. Good morning. Well, good afternoon now to everyone. My name is Raquel Wilson. I am the Youth Voice Program Manager here at Fostering Media Connections. We are a nonprofit that is dedicated to helping inspire those who have experienced foster care, homelessness, juvenile injustice, to simply just share their stories. Here at the Youth Voice Program, we offer really creative ways to get youth to speak about their experiences. And we offer some journalism workshops, which is what I'm happy to speak about today here. We're gonna be collaborating with the Guardian Scholars Program, and I'm very excited. We're gonna be offering students in the program $100 to participate in the journalism workshop, and $150 to participate in an extensive editing process that will also include one-on-one trainings with both I and an assistant editor for the Youth Voice Program. And so at a total of $250 with some extra incentives. And basically, the workshop is to just build their skills, to teach them how to write op-eds, and then just to encourage them to tell their story about whatever, which of the three components that they have experienced. And this work is really important to me because I am also a former foster youth that has experienced homelessness and juvenile injustice. So I just am very grateful to Brianna and Jessica for us getting this done, and just being able to be a part of the team for this workshop. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, because we are hosting the workshop the February 11th and 12th, that we could have data on how this workshop went, and we could hopefully offer some Guardian Scholars that are in the graduate program the same workshop and a chance to tell their stories as well. And so just thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for the work that you do. It really means a lot. Growing up in foster care, these type of programs weren't available. Some of these resources wasn't available. So it just feels really good to see all of the great work that everybody is just really dedicated to doing. And just, you know, you guys just keep it up. And thank you guys for your time again. Thank you.
Wow, that was so great. Raquel, so nice to meet you, and thanks for being with us today.
It's nice to meet you as well. It's nice to put a face to the email.
Of course, it's so great to see you, and thank you for speaking up about
Thank you
your
for having me.
experience and how this can support more young people. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I'll drop my email if anybody is interested in collaborating and getting some of their youth some journalism work, workshops or whatever. I'm just trying to build resources for and create opportunities for people in the community that I also am a part of. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Please, absolutely. Feel free to do that. And we'd love to hear from you. Does anyone have any questions for Jessica or Raquel? All right, well, we look forward to learning more about your project as it takes off. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see here. Go back to my list. Next up, we have Dr. Stacy Barron and her special assistant joining us. And also, I believe Dr. Barron is joined by some of her colleagues as well. So Dr. Barron, feel free to introduce your colleagues that are with you. And I have given you screen sharing capabilities, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Taylor. Actually, I think for some reason I can't share my screen. Do you happen to have the PowerPoint that I sent you on hand?
I will pull it up. Just one moment, please.
I think it might be a my issue.
No worries.
Everyone. While Taylor's pulling that up, I'll introduce myself. Thank you, first of all, so much to the Pritzker Center and to Taylor for supporting our work and for organizing this session today. I have my newborn infant Nora on my lap right now, so she is my assistant, and hopefully she will be quiet during this. My name is Stacy Barron. I'm on the clinical faculty at UCLA here, and I'm a practicing pediatrician at all of UCLA Medical Center, specifically at the Medical Hub Clinic at all of you, which is a clinic that specifically serves patients that are involved in the Department of Children and Family Services. So the title of our innovation grant is Improving Reproductive Health Services in the Medical Hub Clinics for Adolescents in Foster Care through Youth Engagement in a Health Navigator pilot program. So this project, you could go to the next slide, is a product of amazing partnerships here and collaborations, and we can go to the next slide. And I have a number of my co-collaborators on the call today, which is amazing. So have to thank Sonal Desai, who will be speaking in a little bit, Dr. David Richards from the National Clinician Scholars Program, Nayeli and Elizabeth from the School of Public Health and Department of Epidemiology, Brenda Cruz from Public Health, and Haley Broader from the Luskin School, Dr. Paula Tavreau from the Public Health, Rebecca Gudeman, Felicia Reyes, and the LA Rep Youth Advisory Board from LA Reproductive Health Equity Project, and then soon to be Dr. Michaela Kelly from the David Geffen School of Medicine, as well as all of our hub providers. And thank you to those who were able to join from our team as well. And feel free to fill in anything that I miss. So just a little background before discussing our updates and future directions. So this grant came out of an initial collaboration with Dr. David Richards and we did a qualitative analysis to look at provider perceptions of barriers and facilitators to reproductive health plan creation and execution for our welfare-involved youth in the LA County Medical Hub Clinics. We found 4 themes from this study, which I won't go into in too much detail, but then hosted a foster youth focus group to review the results of this provider study and to help plan some potential interventions. In those focus groups through LA Rep, the youth reported that they wanted more adolescent-friendly clinics. They wanted more supportive decision-making for reproductive health. They desired privacy and increased continuity of care related to sexual and reproductive health care. So the goal of this health navigator role, which we built for the innovation grant, is to provide education to foster youth and support their decision-making process through contact with youth before, during, and after the clinical visit with the physician. And the navigator is intended to help reduce time pressure and rush decision-making during the clinical visit, promote youth agency, and also help to maintain youth privacy. And these were all barriers that were identified in our provider study and agreed upon in the youth listening sessions as well. So both the youth and the provider role were integrated in the generation of this health navigator role with this goal to overcome some of these identified barriers to care. So this summer, Nayeli and Elizabeth did their summer practicum with us from the public health school. They helped us to do some reproductive health asset mapping and geomapping, which was really interesting. Literature review on the role of patient navigators, of which the role of a patient navigator in this setting doesn't exist, but there's patient navigators in a lot of other settings. And then helping us to build the foundation for this navigator role. And then next slide. And then this fall, we brought on Haley Broder and Brenda Cruz from Luskin School and from the School of Public Health as our first reproductive health navigators. They both completed and are certified in family planning health worker through Essential Access Health, and then also received training from myself, from Dr. Desai, Dr. Richards, and then Michaela Kelly, who's a fourth-year medical student with a passion and a background in sexual and reproductive health, who helped to reinforce the training from this curriculum, as well as help us with the design of the role. And then next slide. So last month, I had a baby. So I'm very thankful to Dr. Desai, who's been serving as the interim project PI during my maternity leave and has worked on the actual integration of the navigators into clinics, which just happened this month. So I'm going to turn it over to her to discuss how they've been functioning in clinic, and then I'll just wrap it up real quick at the end.
Thanks, Stacy. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonal Desai. I'm one of the new pediatricians at the All of You Hub Clinic, and Stacy was nice enough to let me get involved with this project. So we rolled out our program this month, and essentially what we've been doing is having our navigators call our adolescent patients a few days prior to their scheduled appointment to sort of establish rapport and get our patients more comfortable with talking about some of these more sensitive topics and establish a level of trust with the medical system. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've really had to limit our in-person adolescent visits, but we've been able to set up video visits during this time, and it's actually been going pretty well. So our navigators are initiating open-ended conversations about reproductive health, sexual health and orientation, contraception, and things like that. So one of the more common scenarios that we've been experiencing in the last few weeks is adolescent females that are interested in contraception and want to learn more about their options. And so our navigators have this really unique role of being able to spend time with them, educating them, and allowing them some autonomy and confidentiality in the decision-making process. Other topics that we're working on discussing with our patients would be sexual health in adolescents that identify as LGBTQ, and also just kind of reviewing and having our patients become more comfortable with discussing things like sexual health, reproductive health, puberty, and things like that. So we're also having them follow up with our patients about a week after the visit to, again, continue the relationship and building rapport and establishing trust in the medical system. And we as a team have been debriefing every week and sort of reviewing how the process is going and trying to find points of improvement throughout the project. As I mentioned, COVID has made things difficult and we've had low patient volume, but we're hoping that as things get better, we can really implement the program and make positive changes. So I'll let Stacy take over and talk about next steps for the program.
And I know we're really low on time, so I'll go through this really quickly. So right now we're doing sort of just rapid cycle PDSA, as Sonal described, talking to the navigators about what's going well and what to do next. But we're very thankful, you can go to the next slide, to be able to continue this work. We're a sub-grant awardee through the Innovation and Impact Network Tier 2 grant from the Health and Human Services Office of Population Affairs, which was given to the National Center for Youth Law and LA Rep to really launch a California reproductive health equity project for foster youth. So this is a statewide and cross-sector innovation grant, and we're going to be continuing the work of building this navigator program, and specifically working on the evaluation piece. Is this something we should replicate? Is it something we should scale, among what's working, what's not working, among many other questions that we have. So we're very thankful for the Pritzker Center again to get this chance to really launch this journey. And we hope to have even more updates about this program in the future for you guys. So thank you. Sorry for going over the time.
Beautiful. Wow, what an incredible project. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Barron or Dr. Desai? Okay. Thank you so much to both of them, and special thanks to Nora, the special assistant. She made for a great presentation. Hi, Nora. And let's go now to Dr. Olin. And Liz, if you have colleagues with you, please feel free to introduce them. I'm so sorry to say I don't know everyone here, so my apologies if I haven't connected those dots.
No problem. Thank you, Taylor. No, unfortunately, all of my collaborators could not join me, so I'm here all by myself with all of you wonderful people, of course. I just also want to say thank you first to the Pritzker Center and for all of you for making this possible. It's been really awesome to get to sort of reach outside of our little UCLA bubble and get to connect with other folks. And there are so many amazing projects. I love that we have this opportunity to connect and hear a little bit more about what's going on. So I will, let me share my screen and slideshow, view slideshow. I feel like I haven't done a slideshow in a while. So view slideshow, there we go. Awesome. So the project that I have been involved in is enhancing engagement of resource parents with harder to place youth. We are especially focused on LGBTQ youth. I'm Liz Olin. I'm a psychologist at the UCLA Empower program, and my UCLA collaborators are Natalie Ramos, who also works at Empower with me. We both wear other hats also at UCLA, but that takes up a large chunk of our time. Also Jill Waterman and Jeannie Miranda, and then our community partners have been amazing to work with, Marianne Guilfoyle and Richie Valencia, who unfortunately cannot be here, as part of, they're from Allies for Every Child and from Raise a Child. And so we've been able to have a nice big robust team that's been really great to have on this project. I'm just gonna give like 2 quick sentences about what Empower is and sort of what Raise a Child is, so you know sort of like what our collaborative partners are doing. Empower is a comprehensive mental health program at UCLA that's for LGBTQ youth. We're an outpatient program, and we're primarily focused on resilience and trauma and kind of the intersection of LGBTQ identities. We are a clinical training program, like a lot of programs at a lot of clinics at UCLA. So we are, our sort of overarching goal is to sort of train the next affirming generation of mental health providers, while being able to offer some really specialized affirming care for our youth who maybe have not received that elsewhere. We also spend some time doing some training just in the UC system more broadly, and within the UC system and outside of the UC system, but we get to do a lot of curriculum development and training as well, which is really a great part of our work, particularly on LGBTQ youth and how to best support them. Allies for Every Child is an amazing organization that does really really, really important work in a variety of spheres, but specific to this project, they do a lot of very important recruitment of prospective resource families, particularly with a commitment to social justice and equity. They provide a lot of resource parent support and training and services, but they're really looking for folks who are willing to meet the need of our harder to place youth in child welfare system. So they've been really amazing to partner with because we have so many awesome shared values. And just give you like a few quick tidbits about sort of how our project came together and why we decided to do this particular project. But as some of you might be aware, we know that LGBTQ youth are really, really overrepresented in LA County foster care. The number from a few years ago was 19%. There's actually a recent study that came out of New York City that showed their number as being almost slightly higher. So we know that this is not just like a California thing or an LA thing, that in general, we know that our LGBTQ youth are overrepresented. We know they're less likely to achieve permanency, and they have higher rates of hospitalizations, homelessness, and group home placement. So they're less likely to be in a home setting. And we know, if you sort of look at the statistics, that, you know, with additional stressors and obstacles, we know that our LGBTQ youth of color face particularly poor outcomes. So we also know that a lot of agencies are really struggling to find qualified resource parents who are willing to welcome LGBTQ youth and or youth of color into their families. And so we know that this increased stability or permanency can contribute to better outcomes. And so we really want to find a way to increase that ability to recruit and retain prospective resource parents who are willing and able to serve our LGBTQ youth and our LGBTQ youth of color. In an effort to sort of offset the disparities that we see. Sort of a little side piece of this too is that we know that LGBTQ adults as prospective parents are much more likely to adopt and foster than their heterosexual counterparts. And so this is like a really key demographic that we've been keeping in mind with this project as well, knowing that LGBTQ parents oftentimes feel like they have less support and sort of more obstacles in their transition to parenthood, but really wanting to think about how we can tap this amazing resource of parents who are usually more willing and able to foster these youth to begin with. So like the big goal was really to better recruit and train and support resource families generally who can positively, you know, care for our LGBTQ youth in foster care and offset these poor outcomes, and with a particular emphasis on wanting to support our LGBTQ resource parents, as we know that they're such like a huge asset for us. So how we are going about this currently, we have a couple of phases, and the first phase is just a needs assessment. So we've been, for the last couple of months, focus grouping a lot of prospective resource parents. So in addition to doing focus groups, we've been doing an online survey as well, to sort of try to get at the information in a few different capacities. But we're really just trying to get a sense of like, what are the perceived barriers that resource parents have coming into this process about what might be kind of getting in the way of their sort of willingness or maybe ability to be willing to take an older youth, an LGBTQ youth or youth of color. And then also specifically like within that, like what are the LGBTQ parents, prospective parents' needs during this time as well. The second phase of this is to then take all that information and develop a curriculum or develop something based on what the first phase tells us that could be used in either pre-approval trainings for prospective resource parents or really just trying to target whatever it is that is identified in the first phase. We really want to know, like, what is it that prospective resource parents on the ground are seeing as like the thing that's getting in their way, and then being able to fill that gap and being able to provide that information or those services or that support. So far we have been doing about one focus group a month. So Allies trains prospective resource families, and so they go through a series of several weeks of training. And so with each cohort, I've been showing up and crashing their group and doing a little focus group with them. We've done 5 so far with a little over 40 people who've participated. I've had a lovely work study student who's been able to transcribe that for me, and we have started doing some open coding on that. We had to unfortunately pause our focus group. It was definitely COVID related, but Allies has had to pause their sort of efforts in the last month or two because of some unexpected changes with personnel that impacted their ability to sort of run those trainings, and also complications related to COVID. So they are just sort of getting things back underway here. And so I will be resuming those shortly. We were hoping to have more focus groups done by this point. The goal, I think, would be to get to 10 focus groups if we can. We also are sort of adjusting our tactic right now because our prior to kind of the pause, we had been just giving this quantitative survey to the people who participated in the focus group. And so we've been getting, great responses from our survey as well. But as you can see, only 27 out of the 42. So we didn't have complete follow-up of the people who were in our focus groups. And so we're thinking kind of creatively about how to maybe expand who we're having fill out the survey so that it's not just people in the focus group, so we can really up the number of our quantitative survey as well. Our future work, I realize I'm probably low on time. I don't have a timer going, but our future work is really, the idea would be like, if we can create some sort of, curriculum or training or something that's going to fill the gaps that's getting in the way of people being willing to take LGBTQ youth in their families, then we could scale that up. Ideally, we first want to create this, implement it through allies. And then at that point, it's something that we could scale up and potentially roll out at other agencies and programs as well. Particularly for, again, kind of fostering this sense of willingness to take these youth among all prospective resource parents, but specifically, again, trying to tap into that like really special demographic we have of our LGBTQ prospective parents and providing them with like an extra layer of support as well. I think that is actually all of the slides I have, so I will stop my share, but would love to hear any questions that people have, and if not, just thanks again for the opportunity as we continue to plug ahead here in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Liz. Any questions? Liz, I'll just say, I think there is a big movement afoot that will, especially within DCFS, that will welcome this research and support. So it's very timely, and we really want to thank you so much for all the effort you've put toward your project, as well as the partnership that you have with our good friends at Allies and Raise a Child.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I'm looking forward to continuing our work together in the coming months. So thank you again.
Thank you. All right, any questions? If not, okay, we're going to turn to Dr. Elizabeth Barnard and her incredible medical student, Joyce Lee. And Dr. Barnard, if you have any colleagues that I don't know of joining, please introduce them. And my apologies to those of you who might be joining that I am not connecting to each project. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Taylor. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. Joyce Lee, UCLA medical student, has been exceptional to work with. We also have joining us Jen Silvers on faculty at UCLA, and our extraordinary community partner, Meredith Harper with Swan Within. Meredith, it's so nice to see you. And hi. So they have each been incredible to work with. Joyce, you're extraordinarily talented. To give you an example of what it's like to work with Joyce, Joyce already has a poster about this project, a manuscript that's under peer review, a one-page summary, and a report to Swan Within summarizing our recommendations. So I said, choose from that to present today. And instead, I got an email last night from Joyce that says, I made slides. So I'm going to hand this over to Joyce.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Barnard. I really don't think this would have been possible without her guidance and mentorship, and from Dr. Silvers and from Meredith to kind of give a really good and special look into the work that she does. And I think it might actually be helpful maybe if Meredith, you can talk a little bit about your work, and then I can kind of provide like the background info about the review we've done.
Sure, I'm gonna try to wrap it as quickly as I can.
Oh, Meredith, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't hear you quite yet.
Can you hear me now?
Very minimal.
Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me better now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So as I was saying, I'm going to try to wrap it up as quickly as possible. It's a lot to say. I know every other executive director probably feels the same way when you talk about your work. So Swan Within is our agency. We're steeped in teaching dance, specifically starting with ballet to incarcerated and foster youth. We started with our first participants at Central Juvenile Hall back in 2016, who were identified as CSEC, and that's what our work is based in, working with youth who have been identified as CSEC, but also trauma, any form of abuse, and our program has expanded so much since then. We have multiple programs with LACO and the probation department to teach on site, but now that we're virtual learning, we've had to adapt and pivot how we facilitate our classes, but we've seen some of the same beautiful transformations. And we really work hard on building self-esteem and reducing negative behaviors while youth are incarcerated or in residential treatment homes, and hope to expand their horizons and their access to the dance world and access to change. We believe in second chances. And since then, we have a new population of youth boys. We teach, we have a program at Central Juvenile Hall called GENTS. And of course, you know, every single child is vulnerable to being sexually exploited, whether they're boys or girls. And we have a large population of LGBTQ youth. A lot of the kids say they don't want to dance because they're gay. And I say, dance doesn't matter. I mean, dance doesn't care. And whether you're gay or not, we want you to participate. And we have had astounding outcomes. So I'm sure I've missed a lot. Oh, and of course, we're part of the countywide gang intervention and prevention program to help intervene and to divert any gang involvement. We've been a big part of our programming is to use the arts for engagement to identify who is being trafficked, where the trafficking is happening, the population, the zip codes. So we have a covert operation underneath the therapeutic trauma-informed operation as well. So I'm going to hand it back to Joyce because I know that we're limited in time. But we're so thankful for this opportunity, Taylor and Tyrone and everyone. Just thank you so much for this. This is really huge for our agency.
So let me share my screen before we dig in. So as Meredith has mentioned, this was really kind of the impetus behind this project. And what we wanted to do was look into the literature, kind of see what does therapeutic dance do for the healing of sexual trauma. Just a quick background, the prevalence of sexual violence is too high. And what we know is that it has damaging consequences on the health of those individuals, physical health consequences, but also psychological. So what we did is we partnered with Swan Within. We wanted to examine the evidence behind therapeutic dance for the healing of sexual trauma. And we basically did a systematic literature search. I won't get too bogged into the details here, but we did find 11 studies that fit our eligibility criteria. And overall, those studies show that therapeutic dance is promising. The impact of sexual trauma, the unique nature of it, pretty much demands that the body be a target in treatment. Movement through dance engages the mind-body connection. I can go a little bit more into that later. And what we found were through thematic analysis that all the outcomes that were reported could be grouped into 3 domains. So affect, the self, and interpersonal relationships. And just to give like a overview of those 3 domains, what we found was that in the domain of affect, therapeutic dance had really great positive effects on improved self-awareness, expression of emotion, and the regulation of emotion. With the self, we saw a sense of freedom and security, improved body awareness and body image, benefits with self-empowerment, and having a positive future orientation. with interpersonal relationships, what we found was that therapeutic dance allowed participants to have improved boundary formation and improved experience of interpersonal relationships, all of which I think is, what's the word? All of which was very much I'm escaping the word here, but all of which were, I would say, supported by the work that Swan Within does and all the other nonprofit organizations throughout the nation that have used therapeutic dance. So what we found was that therapeutic dance does demonstrate benefits. There is a mind-body connection that a lot of those studies kind of attest to. And we hope that the benefits that we see through the literature can support those nonprofit organizations across the country, the programs that have been utilizing dance, and make it more of a accessible and promising venue for adolescents, kids, women, all across the spectrum, and everyone who's been through sexual trauma. That is it. Any questions? I also, just to put out there, this PowerPoint is up, and if you would like to have a little bit more information into the project, please feel free to let me know, and I could be happy to share, or Taylor can share too.
Thank you so much, and really just blown away by that project. It's so exciting to see, and I also just want to acknowledge that because of Dr. Barnard and Joyce's work with Swan Within, we've been really excited to receive some additional funding from the Anthony and Jeannie Pritzker Family Foundation to do a few more medical tape grants like this in this forthcoming summer. So that was really a direct result of the success with this project and this amazing community collaboration. So thank you so much for your inspiration, Meredith, Liz, and Joyce. And we look forward to giving more students the opportunity to work with more amazing community organizations in a similar manner, and hopefully they can fill your big shoes. So special thanks. Any questions for this project? Awesome. Well, thank you. And Meredith, I'm so sorry I didn't see you earlier, but hi, so happy you're here. So happy to be with you. Leslie, we will turn over to Dr. Ramos Gomez, our dental project, and his colleagues. And if I need to give screen sharing to anybody, please let me know.
Yes, could you please give me screen sharing? Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Great, good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you. I still says host disabled participant screen sharing, so I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be part of this great group. I think the Pritzker Center and Dudley did an amazing job in having this amazing opportunity for all of us in a very interdisciplinary kind of approach. So I'm a pediatric dentist, a faculty here, professor in the School of Dentistry, and I want to acknowledge Helen Lindau. She's here with me as well. I want to thank very much for this award and to be part of this great selected group of people. Our work has been for many years on reducing the prevalence of disease of early childhood caries in very young children. I'm not sure if you are aware, but dental caries and dental disease in children is the #1 reason why children are taken out from the school system for emergency basis. So this is a totally preventable disease, but it affects children very early on for their able to sleep, able to be school ready, able to learn, able to cope. It's just very difficult for them, and they come to us in very late stages. So this is a totally preventable disease, and we try to prevent it very early on. So our center, we run a center here at UCLA for children's oral health, and to really look at these huge disparities that exist. And our role and our work is to really understand oral health disparities and to really position children's oral health as an issue of equity, human rights, and social justice. So we're thrilled to have this work now with Pritzker. So if you understand that our overall health, you cannot have oral health without oral health. And unfortunately, 40% of foster children have significant oral health needs. And it's something that there's a lack of research there. There's very little evidence of what's happening in their households. So we're thrilled and we're so excited, thanks to Pritzker, that we're able to create a partnership with the Children's Institute. And I really want to acknowledge we have an advisory board with Todd Sosna, Ian Ryan, and Devona Hernandez. And we're thrilled they've been so supportive for us and to really start just looking into the first efforts of how to do this. So our research question is, what are the unique oral health challenges faced by foster families in accessing oral health care? And to learn more about some of these situations on them. So for that, there's currently no established guidelines in the dental literature, anything related to this. And we really want to make an advocacy role and to shine the light about the need of these kind of things. So what we know is that there's a lot of lack of understanding of nutrition, and especially now through COVID, we see that families now, the whole idea of sheltering in home is very different for many, many families. And unfortunately, they're using food and very sugary foods and junk food as a way to cope and keeping the child's behaviors in sense. So it's so important to address those issues. Consent, there's issues of consent for the foster family children because they do not know which is the authority that can consent for any treatments or any special oral health access to care. And dental home is a huge issue. We've been trying to really establish that every child by age 1 should have a dental home, be risk assessed, or really monitor them very closely to prevent disease in the future. So our objectives is this a qualitative study will aim to better understand the issues that foster parents face in accessing dental health care for the foster children and highlight the major issues that they face. We have, thanks to the Institute, they're going to be helping us to recruit some foster parents so we can develop some focus groups and to ask them about their experiences accessing and utilizing mental health care services. And we really like to hopefully establish some sort of a curriculum to address some of these issues. So our goal is the creation of an advocacy for oral health policy regarding the care for foster children, such as those already in practice in pediatric medicine, and report of any protocols if possible. We can develop any protocols for treating foster children in the dental environment, as well as the standardization of teaching methods in dental schools and residency programs about this very, very important vulnerable population. Our potential impact is that the research will aim to correct the omission of an oral health policy in dental care of foster children and deliver recognition as a substantial healthcare issue. So, of course, of COVID, we were delayed. We have to go through an IRB, very strict process. We've been back and forth with all of you that deal with IRBs can be sensitized with us about these issues. So finally, we just got it approved on the 21st of January. So we're so excited about that. And we're moving along in February to recruit these participants and hopefully do the focus groups in March and April and have some data analysis and maybe a report by June of this year. So that's in a nutshell. I'm not sure if Helen wants anything to add. These are our references. And we really want to thank the Pritzker group and especially Taylor Dudley for her help, support, and all of you to be part of this very selective and wonderful group of really interdisciplinary, amazing projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramos Gomez. Does anybody have any questions for our dental project?
I think everyone wants to go to eat now.
Well, we really want to thank you for taking that project on. All of us at UCLA Pritzker Center felt very strongly that dental issues needed to be among our grant considerations. And we know, those of us who work with the kids directly, that this issue is long overdue for addressing and improving. So we're really excited about your project and look forward to hearing how it goes, particularly with respect to the creation of some policy around the importance of dental care among children in foster care. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Well, I think I speak for our team when I say that this convening has just been so incredible, because not only have we talked about lifespan of children and young people from 0 to their teen years in terms of jobs and access to appropriate health care, and considering issues around sexual orientation, as well as the development of confidence and connection to themselves and others. But we've also talked about everything that I think impacts a whole child, from their health care to their confidence to who they become as adults. And, I think it's safe to say that this group represents all of the areas that account for becoming a successful and productive and healthy person in the world. So thank you all for addressing the many angles that are so often overlooked among our kids and families. It's really meaningful to see. And we even have, addressing that range from foster to juvenile justice and everything in between. So it's really exciting. In terms of next steps, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Langley shortly, I just want to remind everyone that we will be inviting you to a year-end convening where we'd love to just hear how things ended up for those of you who are still in process. And we'll also be building a space on the website to share your projects. And I'll show you what we have now. You're welcome to visit this part of our website to just see what's going on there. But eventually we'll build it out a little bit more to share papers, presentations, other things. And you're welcome to link between your own websites as well to that information. If you have any feedback about today's convening, please let me know. We always aim to do better with our work. And so I put my email in the chat. And I just really want to thank everybody. This has been incredibly inspiring. And we're so excited about what's to come. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Langley to close us out. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Taylor. I just want to say, wow, I've spoken with most of you individually, and I've been really thrilled with what you have been able to do and what you're planning to do. But to see everything together, as Taylor said, is incredibly meaningful. To see, our goal in bringing that connection between UCLA and the community and stakeholders, is really tremendous. And I think that we have we can grow a great deal from here. And hopefully each of these partnerships then spawn new projects, new opportunities and connections with others. Just a couple, it was interesting to hear how so much of the work that everyone presented is, involves stakeholder perspectives and how important that is. Hearing from campers about their self-confidence and hearing from adolescents in the hubs about their reproductive care, and the journalism work with Guardian scholars and helping them not only learn a new form of potentially expressing their narrative, but really being interested in those stories, the parent narratives that Fana was talking about, and obviously hearing from resource parents, both in terms of LGBTQ youth and feeling comfortable that they have the services and supports they need to be able to bring young people in their home, as well as caregivers around dental care, which like Taylor, we share the view that this is a critical gap in care. And in general, I really just appreciated how the themes coalesced. There are diverse ways that humans heal, and to hear about play and dance and access to reproductive health and access to dentistry and all of those pieces, I think was really meaningful. Getting at the core of, as humans, we want to connect, we want to have a sense of belonging, and how much these programs really lead to that. And again, just overcoming obstacles, hearing each of you name this was the gap and this is how we're working toward overcoming it, I think was really thrilling. We know that building self-esteem, self-knowledge, and goes a long way in really empowering our young people and our families, and creating avenues for advocacy and activism in relationship with all of us, I think is really important. So this has been inspiring, and I just appreciate the time that we've all been able to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Audra, and thank you all. We'll see you in a few months. And many thanks. Stay safe, be healthy, be well. We're grateful for all of you. Big hugs. Goodbye.
It was great. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Liz. Bye, Liz.